This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen to talk Game Week 16 in the Premier League. Chris, we're talking Thursday evening after the rest of Game Week 15 happened. We're coming immediately after a couple games on Thursday. Chris, I commend you here for coming into the show off of what happened to you over the week. Couple bad beats. We both had a couple bad beats today. Okay, maybe not bad beats, just unlucky games. You had Aston Villa, one of your bets last week. I took Aston Villa double chance, but you had Aston Villa over 1.5 goals. They should have scored again. They got one goal. They won 1-0. They should have got another goal. Today you had Tottenham money line. They were up 1-0. The second goal they gave up, it was terrible. For me personally, I had under 2.5 goals in this Everton Newcastle game. There's no goals the first 79 minutes. Then Kieran Trippier makes 2 mistakes in 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, Beto is on a breakaway for the third goal, and my bet loses. So it's been whatever, Chris. So I commend you to come on the show after a pretty brutal Game Week 15 for yourself.
Yeah, really, obviously really appreciate you bringing that up, Adam. Also, good evening. Good to see you once more. You call them bad beats, I call them bad bets. We gotta. They're either good or they're not. I did miss that Tottenham bet. Of course, they go up 1-0. I was buzzing. I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch the match. And I follow along. I got, of course, the Tottenham buddies are chiming in. We're the most unlucky team. Blah blah blah. I'm. Half of me is pissed off that I'm missing my bet. Half of me is kind of just laughing at Tottenham. Is Big Ange on the hot seat? I don't know. And then, of course, that Aston Villa game on Wednesday, maybe one of the better performances that I've seen from a team in quite some time. I think Haaland, early on, Emi Martinez made a really nice double save on Haaland. But other than that, Aston Villa just kind of dominated them, which is not something I necessarily expected. I expected a pretty back and forth match there. And in what I thought was going to be the over 1.5 for Villa. David Luiz had one off the pipe, very late in the match.
Douglas.
Douglas.
I'm like Sideshow Bob. David Luiz here. He's coming in.
Yeah, Douglas Luiz had one off the pipe. I've got a lot of things going on in the head there. Could have been David Silva. I could have messed that up in so many ways. But luckily, just one way I messed it up on. But yeah, Douglas Luiz hit the pipe late on. Of course, the Leon goal was pretty fortunate for them anyways. But they were all over City. Interesting match. Villa's makes this weekend even better too. Now that we're going to have that Villa Arsenal match that we will be getting into, but. We're back again here. I'm never afraid to show face. That's for sure. Even when I'm looking directly down a loss. Was I 0-4 last week? 1-3. I can't remember.
It
wasn't good.
You were 0-4.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you also had Chelsea double chance at Manchester United in the Team Parlay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm just going to get right back at it, and we're going to throw down some more bets.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out that. So I opened Monday's show earlier this week, just talking about no one's getting clean sheets. There's goals in all these matches. So it turns out that the game that I took Wolves over 1.5 goals. You took Aston Villa over 1.5 goals. Just one goal in each of those games. You took under in the Fulham Nottingham Forest match, 5 goals in that one. I took under in the Everton Newcastle one, 3 goals in that one. So we just can't get things right here. But we're here to get them right. We're going to figure it out. I was actually 3-0. I know we're talking about some losses here. I did actually hit all of my game bets. I did not hit my parlay bet, but I was 3-0 on my other bets earlier this week. So I'll just throw that in your face. I'm getting back to 500. You have more of a ways to go coming off your cold streak, but
up is down, down is up. Yeah, I can't get one right. You're hitting your bets somehow.
Somehow.
We're back.
Somehow.
I don't mind it at all. It only what is that? Pain is just weakness leaving your body. So in the form of
exactly.
Bets, so. Let's get to it, though.
Let's get to it. The first game we're talking about, we have, so I think it's 5 games Saturday, 5 games Sunday, something like that. It's pretty even split. But we have Sheffield United Before we got a couple big matches coming up, but this one is this is our screwball that they're throwing to the fans here. Sheffield United are at home, plus 350 to win. Brentford are minus 125. It seems like, yes, definitely. And Brian Mbomo is out. I just wanted to think about it for a second. Brian Mbomo is out. He's probably going to be out a few weeks. Seems like a high ankle sprain that he picked up midweek. So basically, their best scorer is going to be out. So that's kind of why we look at this line movement on the screen. Again, go to rotowire.com/soccer, go to the betting page. You can see this line movement. Earlier in the week, Sheffield United were plus 400 to win. Now they're plus 350. Brentford were minus 155. Now they're minus 125. I think a lot of that has to do with these injuries. A lot of it has to do with the Mbomo injury. Maybe some of it has to do with Sheffield United looking slightly like a real team against Liverpool. Maybe somewhat. Chris doesn't think so. It was 2-0.
No, yeah, I mean,
for most of the match.
I don't think I disagree. They look okay.
Okay, you were given a face. Yeah, okay.
The Chris Wilder bump.
There you go. The draw is plus 285, and then we're looking at over 2.5 goals at minus 115, under 2.5 goals at minus 110. So sitting right in the sweet spot there in terms of odds. So I don't know did you watch that Liverpool Sheffield United game fully?
I caught the second half, the full second half.
So what do you think? New manager bump, does that go into effect against Liverpool after maybe one day of training under Chris Wilder? Or is it, a couple more days of training? You get this bump against Brentford without Mbomo, without a bunch of guys. So
this one's tough to tell. I missed the first half, but, he's back at his boyhood club, managed there, all that good stuff. He
led the team to relegation already.
Yeah, he's been there, he's done that, and it's been poor. So I don't know. You look at Sheffield United, they've scored the least amount of goals in the league. They've conceded the most amount of goals in the league. So they've got 11 goals to their name for the season. So that's not great. That's not going to do it. First of all, you got to start scoring some goals. Second of all, it's the cart before the horse type of thing. Like, do they stop conceding goals, or do they start scoring goals? I think it's a little bit easier to stop conceding. They've conceded a total of 41 goals, all in 15 matches, 21. I think it was 20. It's pretty even. It's like 20-21. So whether they're home or away, they're just conceding a boatload of goals. I think was that Newcastle game where 8 of them came, or was that a different one that I'm thinking of?
Yep, that was Newcastle.
Okay, so a lot of them came there, but still. A lot of concerns with this match. You did mention that perhaps Brentford's going to be without a couple players here, it sounds like, but I still think that Brentford's pretty favored here. What did we say the money line bet was? It was
minus 125.
Minus 125 for an away team in the Prem feels enticing, but kind of risky too. I feel like I'm going to avoid that altogether. I was weary of the new manager bump, because usually you can pull out a kind of a performance, like guys playing for their jobs potentially. They might shake things up. So I'm going to avoid that altogether. I am intrigued by the money line bet. There's a couple other ones out there that are interesting for this one. The Brentford over 1.5 goals for the game. But after I got burned by Villa on Wednesday, I'm avoiding that one in this particular matchup. But I'm going to take a book straight, a page from the script of Adam Zdroik here. I'm going to take a corners bet. It's corners and wagers, baby. We're back. And that is over 5.5 corners for Brentford in this match. It's what do we have it at? I think I got
minus 130.
Classically didn't write it in my notes. Minus 130, as you said. But you look back, they gave up 12 corners to Liverpool. I was looking at some of their other matches, and they've all been over 5.5 corners in the past 4 matches. I think a couple of those included some Burnley had over 5.5, Bournemouth had over 5.5, and so did Brighton. Currently, if you look at this handy-dandy cheat sheet from RotoWire.com, you can see, you go over the cheat sheet, you look at corners conceded here. Sheffield United leading the league in corners conceded. They're averaging 7.4 corners conceded per 90 minutes. I'm going to take that over. I'm just going to bang that over on the corners here. Minus 130. Taking a page out of your book. Is that okay? Are you offended, or are you just like, Chris, let's get back on track?
I don't take minus 130 bets, so go for it.
That's fair. All right. Well, as you made very clear, and we've now made very clear, I'm down bad right now. I got to get something where I can get it.
Yeah, you gotta get it. I'm just double checking to make sure I don't take minus 130 bets here. I don't see any. I'm scrolling through the spreadsheet, so I'm in the clear. That statement was true.
Good. At least.
So as you're talking, I've been trying to analyze the stats in the Sheffield United Liverpool match, and I noticed that Sheffield United actually had a few big chances in that game, had a few big chances missed. So that's kind of wearing here for my bet. But I'm going under 2.5 goals. You mentioned Sheffield United have been terrible at scoring. So if you look at their expected lineup, they started this 20-year-old Andre Brooks came into the starting 11. I think he had 2 prior Premier League appearances. Started against Liverpool, which was kind of surprising. He did well, so maybe I shouldn't call him out or anything. But they returned to another youngster, Will Asula, started first few games of the season, so he's back. McBurney's still suspended. I'm not sure they actually have a true goal scorer on their so that. And then Brentford, Noah Bomo, who's been their best goal scorer this season. They took 6 shots in the second half against Brighton midweek. So you don't have Ivan Toney. You don't have Brandon Bomo, your 2 best goal scorers. You don't have your starting fullbacks. You don't have. It doesn't seem like Matthias Jensen's going to be ready to start either. They get Christian Norgard back from suspension, but it just seems like, okay, maybe it's going to be a 2-1 result kind of a thing. I'll probably lean with Brentford in terms of that, but just with what we've seen from Sheffield United in terms of them scoring, and when you throw out all these absences for Brentford, I just can't be on the side of there's going to be goals. There's guaranteed to be goals in this one. So I'm going under 2.5 goals at minus 110. What do you think? Do you think you kind of agree with that goals 2-1 result, or do you think can get a little wild here for Sheffield United?
I'm a little weary of the under 2.5 because, I mean, dude, 41 goals in 15 matches. That's a lot of goals conceded. They did just hold a pretty, Liverpool with 2 goals, and that last one came very, very late.
Yeah, the 94th minute. The other one wasn't off a corner to Virgil van Dijk.
It was like first half to Van Dijk, but I mean, 41 goals. Like, I'm a little weary of this under 2.5. But,
yeah, so you don't have any of your regular set piece takers. So maybe that removes some of these set piece possibilities.
Well, is that more of is it a Brentford thing or is that a Sheffield thing?
I'm saying for
they're so
I'm just saying, like, okay, Liverpool got one of their goals from Van Dijk off a set piece. I mean, I don't know. It's just another thing to add to it. Okay, in addition to not having their goal scorers, they don't have any of the regular set piece takers either. So
okay. I mean, this is
so if they
what about your boy Neil Maupay? Like,
he's not a set piece taker.
But he's a goal scorer. If we're looking at the overs here or the unders, have they tweeted about him this week? Because if they have, I'd be weary.
They tweeted about him today
in training. Yeah,
they did. I saw a picture of him. Let me scroll real quick here.
Does that make you any more weary that they've been tweeting about their goal scorer all week?
Okay. Johan Visha was talked up a bunch by Thomas Frank. So, okay, maybe it's a lot of Saman Godosh. Maybe the Maupay wasn't in there today. Okay, so we're good. No Maupay. So
he's plus 175 anytime if you really want to bang a Brentford.
This is a difficult game. We got some difficult games to talk about, and this is just a difficult one as well. Yeah. So we're talking about a manager who was, I think, officially hired on Tuesday, had a Tuesday training session, hosted Liverpool on Wednesday, so had another training session probably Thursday, Friday, and now Saturday he's hosting Brentford. So that's the kind of week it's been for Sheffield United. Pretty fun for Chris Wilder getting his return to the club. But next game we're talking about Aston Villa, another massive game for them. And I wonder if having massive games twice in 4 days, twice in 4 days, Arsenal are playing twice in 5 days, I believe, because they played Tuesday. So Aston Villa are home against Arsenal. The odds, as you can see, have changed a little bit since Aston Villa won. Instead of plus 265 to win, now they're plus 240 to win. Arsenal are plus 110 to win, and then the draw is plus 265. Arsenal had a little bit of a different midweek game. Got some would argue, some Liverpool, some Man City fans would argue, got a lucky win at Luton Town. They won 4-3. But over 2.5 goals is minus 140 in this one. Under 2.5 goals is plus 110. So can Aston Villa make it 2 in a row against the top 2 teams in the league?
Do you think that I'm kind of thinking they could at least pull a point out?
We just saw Arsenal were down 3-2 at Luton Town. So you got to believe that Aston Villa can take points here.
Yeah, I mean, they've been perfect at home this season. One of 2 teams to have been perfect at home. Them and Liverpool, 7 wins, 7 matches. Pretty comparable stats too. Villa has scored 24 goals while conceding just 5 goals in 7 matches, which is pretty impressive. Arsenal, this is, I mean, it was, and we said this on what day was that? Was that Monday we recorded the podcast? We said, I mean, we picked, I took the Villa over 1.5 because, City was missing some guys. Like they were at least missing Rodri at the very least. They were missing Grealish, but Arsenal pretty, they aren't missing many people here. I think they're pretty full strength. But like I said, Villa at home, I think another good opportunity for them to just like edge their case as like we're contenders. I don't, are we ready to say that quite yet? I would say maybe European contenders. But I like them here. They're at home. I mentioned they're perfect 7-0 at home. They've been scoring plenty of goals. So I'm looking at a little same game parlay here for my bet. It's Aston Villa double chance. So that's win or draw and over 1.5 goals. I think they're going to score, or there will be at least 2 goals in this game. And yeah, they take a point. It hits. You're well on your way. And that is, Adam did the hard yards for me here, and it was I put it together for a plus 115.
Yeah, Aston Villa double chance over 1.5 goals total in the game at plus 115. Yeah, so I think you were going to look at Aston Villa double chance as well. That's what I took against Manchester City. I was going to take it again, but I think we said, what is it, minus 140?
Minus 140.
Minus 145 or something. Yeah, so unfortunately not in the range of giving as a suggestion here. Minus 140 right now. So we had to do different things. So I'm just kind of looking at that Manchester City game, and I'll say, okay, let's do it again. Under 2.5 goals at plus 110. This could be wild. This could be wild like that Luton Town match. I think you are thinking more goals. This could be back and forth like we originally thought for that Manchester City game. I mean, it was for a little bit. Granted, Manchester City had 2 shots in that game, which is maybe the most surprising stat of the season.
Those might have came in the first half too. I mean, I think Martinez had that double save on Haaland. Pretty much that was in the first half, I thought.
Yeah, they had no shots in the second half, no corners, nothing in the second half.
Diego Carlos was a beast.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at that and taking it the same route. I know Rodri wasn't there, and maybe Arsenal are a little bit more informed in terms of scoring goals than Manchester City. So that is worrying, and Arsenal are seemingly allowing more goals. But they did, they allowed 3 goals against Luton Town, but they only gave up 6 shots. So, that just kind of thing isn't really going to happen too often. But I was looking at the Aston Villa, the lineup. So a little before that Manchester City game, they moved Unai Emery. It moved Ezri Konsa, who had been playing center back, to right back. So he was kind of prepping for these games, trying to get probably a little more defensive, get more just better defense than having Matty Cash there. So it's kind of 3 center backs there with Pau Torres, Diego Carlos, and Ezri Konsa there. And then for the Manchester City game, Yuri Tielemans started with Kamara and Douglas Luiz. Tielemans had been getting time, but still a little more defensive look. I think it was listed as like a 4-4-1-1 with Tielemans as the attacking midfielder. so you have all these guys. Kamara was awesome in that game again.
Yeah.
Tielemans, all these midfielders who drop back a ton. So you just have these players in there who already more of a defensive look. I know they dominated the game and had a ton of chances, but they just have like this defensive system here that Unai Emery has been kind of mastering and getting ready for these two games and maybe all these games against better or top competition because as I mentioned on the last show, Aston Villa against a team like Liverpool and against the top four sides or whoever hadn't looked good in the past year. But that game against Manchester City kind of changed that because kind of changed his tactics a little bit, kind of changed some things a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking that's going to stay the same with under 2.5 goals at plus 110. Are you still on? What is your goal prediction here? Do you think 2-2, 1-1? What are you going with?
What is my goal prediction here? I don't think I'm I'm against the under. I know you're here, you're under the 2.5, but I mean, like last season, 4-2 Arsenal in the most recent tie. That was actually this same tie with Aston Villa at home. Obviously a much different team. That was, back in February. I think Aston Villa really kind of came on strong later in the season, if I recall correctly. But then the one for Arsenal at home was 2-1. It's kind of been all over the place aside from that, but Villa is a much changed team since the previous seasons. They're much more competitive, but I see like a 2-2, perhaps maybe a 2-1 Villa. Do I dare say?
You dare say.
I've dared to say it. So yeah, I don't know. I saw a lot out of Villa. Tough to go. I will say the fixture, the thing where it's like 3 days, I guess 4 days later, you face one top side, then you got to go right back at it and remain and like keep those levels. That's really the levels of intensity is incredibly tough, and that's where most of these clubs stumble. So that'll be a good measurement. And we saw it with a couple other teams that happened this week, where it's just like you have one big match and then you go into another big match, and it's tough to remain consistent for them. But what I saw on Wednesday was a really, really strong team.
Yeah, it's a ridiculously difficult schedule that the league dished out to Villa. I guess they're lucky that both these games aren't at Manchester City and Arsenal back to back, because that would just be cruel.
Yeah.
Fortunately for them, it's at home. I joked actually earlier in the week in our Discord that Aston Villa at home are the best team in Europe, and I mean, we'll see after this game if they do what they did against Manchester City. If they do that same thing, then you might not be able to argue that one. So
yeah, Villa Park was absolutely bumping too in the second half. It was like every tackle. So I mean, I watched on TV, but it's like every tackle sounded like it was a place the roof was going to come off that place. It's like kind of like Goodison, when in late in the season when Everton are trying to avoid
stay above.
Yeah, stay above. Like kind of, I was getting really, really same vibes there.
No, it's like today when they destroyed my under 2.5 goal bet. That's what it was like. Yeah. Unai Emery probably one of the favorites up there for manager of the year. I don't know. I don't really look at manager of the year odds or anything like that. I don't even know if they exist, to be honest. But he's probably up there in terms of who's going to be winning that award at the end of the season. But next game we're talking about is one of the most difficult games I think that we have to give bets on for the season. So we got Tottenham are at home at plus 120 to beat Newcastle, who are plus 205. The draw is plus 280. And the odds have moved a little bit here. So you can see, let's see, December 7th. Earlier this morning, Newcastle were plus 175 to win. And then apparently after today's game against Everton, in which they kind of slipped away from them, they dropped to plus 215. Some people picked that up. Now it's plus 205. So some odds changes there. What do we got? Over 2.5 goals is minus 190. So a lot of goals expected. Similar to that West Ham game. Over 3.5 goals is plus 135. Under 3.5 goals is minus 165. Under 2.5 is plus 150. So Tottenham, we already talked about it. They lost at home 2-1 against West Ham. Pretty dumb goal allowed. Newcastle haven't rotated, I think maybe 4 straight matches kind of a thing. They just don't have a massive bench. I'm not sure anyone's going to be returning either for this game. I think Jamal Lascelles left with a dead leg late in the match. I think he's going to be fine, but that's just kind of what they're going with. They're running out the same starting 11 in all these games. They had Champions League. They were in Paris last week. They got to host AC Milan in like a must-win game next midweek. I don't know if that's Tuesday or Wednesday. So they're running out the same starting 11 because they don't have a bench because everyone's injured, and they're playing games every 3-4 days. Just does not help. So how much do you think that plays in this, and how much do you think are you worried that you took Tottenham money line last game and they kind of blew it for you?
They kind of blew it for me. Yeah, that was tough. You saw them go up 1-0, and then just West Ham, the JWP goal to win it for them was just kind of absurd. Tottenham
75% possession in that game.
Yeah, I didn't love what I saw there, but yeah, you mentioned it. This is one of the tougher games to bet. What do they know that we don't know with Tottenham, like plus 120? That feels it could be higher, and I would love to take that. But I mean, it's a Newcastle side. You look at the injury report here on RotoWire, and it's like each team has 10 guys, 9 guys at least that are all injured, suspended, or out.
Newcastle has 12, and Tottenham has 9.
Yeah, so missing a lot of key pieces for both teams. Is Big Ange on the hot seat? One more of these, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
In all reality, I love what he's done, but he's just been rocked by injuries, at least to the key players. I think what we've seen here is Tottenham can't defend. They don't, they're giving up goals like left and right here. Newcastle giving up 3, not always great. You look at some of their. I'm just going to go back to their previous matchups here over the past 3 seasons. Last year, 6-1 Newcastle. I think Harry Kane had the only goal there for Tottenham. That was at St. James Park. In the same tie, it was 2-1 Newcastle. And then even going back 5-1, 3-2, 2-2, 1-1. Ton of goals in these matchups, at least in the past five or so. I've had trouble finding anything of value. I wanted to go over. I wanted to go double chance. I wanted to do all these things, but they're all minus 140 or minus 150 or minus, just not something we can take, even though Adam lets me take minus 130. So I had to go to the one where I could find value here. I got both teams to score. I think they're both going to be able to find the back of the net. And no draw, so that means there's going to be a winner. I got that at plus 105, and it felt a little bit disgusting, a little bit greasy to take that one, but I don't know that Tottenham can necessarily win. Of course, Newcastle just lost. Which way are we going? A money line bet feels I couldn't pick between the two, so I'm on the both teams to score no draw. And this is a bet that I really truly don't like, but it's just the one that has the most value. So
yeah, this morning I wrote down Tottenham double chance with over, what was it? Both teams to score. Tottenham double chance with both teams to score, which is basically the same bet as yours. And that's what I wrote down this morning. And Chris gave me his bet, and I was like, yeah, I don't fully like mine because I do think maybe Newcastle could steal a win similar to what West Ham did. So I don't want to go that route. But you mentioned that Sheffield United 8-0 drubbing that happened earlier in the season. But I just want to read off some of these results. Newcastle away from home. Their last 4 away matches since that Sheffield United win. 2-2 at West Ham, 2-2 at Wolverhampton, 2-0 at Bournemouth, 3-0 at Everton. So they're allowing goals. They're starting the same back line in basically every game. Maybe Jamal Lascelles maybe he actually has an injury and they got to start Emil Kraft as center back, who is, I don't know, their 8th defender on the depth chart, who probably hasn't started a league match in 5 years. I don't know. So you have that situation. These guys, it's going to be a short week. I guess it's technically a short week for both teams. But I think Tottenham are in a little better place because they got Pape Sarr back. Richarlison got a few minutes today. Again, he's been back for about a week. They have more players that you kind of like just a little bit. And I think that's the one thing that stands out. And then you got Tottenham at home. So I do think Tottenham over 1.5 goals at minus 125 is an option as well. But I'm basically taking the same bet that I had for today's game. I had Tottenham minus 0.75 corners in the first half against West Ham. That one hit. They had 4 corners to 1 corner, I want to say, in the first half. So this time I'm taking Tottenham minus 0.25 corners in the first half at minus 115. If anyone watched the Everton Newcastle match today, Everton kind of took it a little bit to Newcastle early in the first half, early in the second half. I think they finished with 8 corners to 4 for Newcastle. We've talked about it during the show throughout the season. Newcastle corners aren't the same as they were last season. So I think we're getting an edge here. I think Tottenham will kind of have more possession like they did today. Maybe obviously not as much, but I think they're going to get corners. And Newcastle, it does seem like there's going to be some tire legs out there. And they got AC Milan on the horizon. Tottenham do not have European play midweek, so that's nothing to worry about for them. So Tottenham minus 0.25 corners in the first half, minus 115. So do you like this more than my under bets or what?
I do. And 2 things here that you said are interesting. You mentioned Milcraft might play at center back for Lascelles. His last start came in 2021. He played 1 match in the EPL last year for Newcastle. So not great if that's got to be the case. That being said, you mentioned, last year I think Newcastle did they lead the league in corners taken, or they were up there I think with Arsenal. This year they're not even close.
I think they led the league. Yeah,
I thought so too. This year they're not even close. They're currently have 65 corners or 66 corners won. That's bottom 4 in the league in terms of the amount of corners. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Such a wild disparity of like a team. And I'm not quite sure what's changed. I mean, they've had some injuries now, but that's more of a defensive thing. The thing you didn't mention too about them defensively is they're missing Nick Pope's out for 4 to 5 months now. He re-injured his shoulder.
So I should mention Dubravka went up for a ball early in the second half. He landed on the goalpost. It looked pretty bad. He felt it a little bit. A couple other times he was it seemed like he was screaming in pain. And then all of a sudden he was allowing goals. So I don't know if something's going to come out and be like, he broke a bone in his back or something. And then I think Loris Karius is their third string goalkeeper.
Their third option.
So maybe something to keep an eye on. He did play through it, so maybe it's fine. But I do think that's interesting.
Honestly, funny that Karius, back, he has another chance. He started their what was it last year? He started the League Cup final against United because Nick Pope was out. I think Dubravka was out too. So he started that match, I remember. But yeah, kind of they are down to some of their last options. Trippier is really the only starter that they've got in the lineup in the back line. So
Fabian Schär is a regular.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. But yeah, they're missing Botman. Livramento was pretty good, not in this match, but who they played before. But yeah, I like the Tottenham favorite in the corners bet. Like I said, Newcastle really, really struggling to put up. Is that a good stat that says you're doing well? I don't know, corners, but they're not having nearly as many as they had last year.
Yeah, they're noticeably. We're talking about Aston Villa at home. Newcastle have been noticeably a lot better at home this season compared to on the road. I gave some of their road results. The 8-0 win at Sheffield United probably skews a lot of their away numbers here for the season. But it was a week ago where they're at home against Manchester United and they just dominated them, and everyone's like, yeah, Newcastle. And then they go at Everton. It's just not the same team. So I kind of think that's what we're gonna get here. So
yeah, you said they played 7 matches away. That was an 8-0 win that you said?
Yeah.
I think, they have 13 goals this season and 8 of those away. 13 goals away and 8 of those came in 1 match. So it's other than that, they have 5 goals in 6 matches.
Not great. Yeah, they've been shut out at Everton and at Bournemouth last 2. So that does not help. Team parlay time. We got to get back on track here. Let's what are you talking about? You're talking about Wolverhampton here for your bet. I was on Wolverhampton last week. They were home against Burnley. Was it on this show? Yeah, it was on this show. I took Wolverhampton Wolves money line. they pretty much have the same odds. I'm not sure why the odds are the same. Nottingham Forest just lost 5-0. We talked about it earlier in the week. Nottingham Forest are just a bad team away from home. A ton of bad numbers, but Wolves sitting here despite taking points, winning 3 of their last 5 at home, taking points in each of their last 5 at home. They're just minus 115 to win. So I just gave your bet out, so you can go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I'm going to take Wolves money line minus 115 here. But yeah, Nottingham Forest got not great at home. They have taken 4 points. They've got 1 win, 1 draw, 6 losses, 18 goals against, 6 scored. So it's not great. But was that Fulham game today? That was at
It was Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
No, it was It was Wednesday.
Or Wednesday.
It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday, yes.
5-0 to Fulham. Not going to do it there, but
Wolves was Tuesday against Burnley.
yes, correct. Yep, there we go. But yeah, I mean, they are bad away from home. Wolves has actually been pretty solid. And I just this is like the one team that's like a home favorite that's pretty attainable. So I think this just feels like the biggest layup that I could take. Of course, it's still Wolverhampton, so still a little concerned, but I like Wolves at home here. Money line minus 115 rather than the parlay.
Yeah, bet makes sense. Minus 115. I'm not sure. I almost think it should be, maybe it might move minus 130, minus 140. Maybe it might move just because people will be looking at Nottingham Forest a little bit more and be like, what's going on here? And then look at Wolverhampton. Hee-Chan Hwang is scoring or assisting in every game. Even without Pedro Neto, they're still finding success at home. Pablo Sarabia was really good for him in that last game. Maybe should add more than 1 goal. Probably should add more than 1 goal for my over 1.5 bet. But on my side of the parlay, it's been a long week, and I wrote an article as well earlier today, so I'm stretched thin for bets. But fresh in my mind was the Everton game. So I'm looking at the Everton game. They're home against Chelsea, and I was just looking at that Chelsea game, looking at all of the results, and all of these Chelsea matches are just frenetic. They're just all crazy. I don't know what Pochettino is telling his team or what's going on, but they're all up and down. They kind of got dominated by Manchester United last game. I think Manchester United had like 30 shots. Their defense has had issues. All these games are up and down. So if the game's going to be up and down, we already got Everton at home, a team that likes to pressure and be on the front foot early in matches, especially at home. So I'm just going Everton plus 2.5 corners in the first half against Chelsea. I also originally had, I think, Everton over 4.5 corners, I think, is minus 130. I like that one as well. The game's going to be up and down. Everton are at home. I think they have a good chance of having more corners than Chelsea in this spot, a team that kind of is, they have success here and there, but I think a lot of that's at home. So let's go at Everton. You mentioned Goodison Park effect earlier. So that's minus 120. Everton plus 0.25 corners in the first half against Chelsea is minus 120. Wolves money line against Forest is minus 115. Team Parlay is plus 242 odds. Chris, are we getting it back here?
I hope so. We had been good. We missed it this week and the weekend, but prior to that we were good. So a plus 242 is pretty close.
Run of bad luck, but we're getting it back here.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all we got, though. That's all we got. Let's look at the odds for just a second. So RotoWire.com/soccer trial if you want to check out our FPL cheat sheet. Manchester City, biggest favorite by a wide margin. They're playing at Luton Town. Haven't really mentioned that one. I may consider taking, depending what the odds are, like a Luton Town. I don't know what we can get, plus 2.5 goals. They played well at home this season at Kenilworth. So something to check out there. Liverpool are at Crystal Palace. I got a bet in that one in my article coming out Friday morning, so check that out. Anything else catch your eye for Game Week 16, Chris?
Did you take the draw in that game, the Liverpool Palace?
I did not. I looked at the over-under, actually.
Okay, nice. I think they Palace drew Liverpool twice last season, so worth a look. Tough place to play. They got the early game, but yeah, interesting enough to get like a plus 2.5. Luton Town, I mean, they were mere moments away from a draw with Arsenal. They drew Liverpool at the Kenyon.
Yeah.
Like they're putting up. You gotta like what they're doing at home. They were just moments away from a good result today or the other day, and yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's what we got. You were gonna take something West Ham money line or something, but I told you no. We're never betting on West Ham again. So.
Yeah, we're off West Ham for a little bit after they kind of after today. They are one of the better teams away from home. I think they have 13 points away from home this season, and kind of interesting.
Kind of interesting. You can find Chris at CHR08 on Twitter. I am at RotoZdroik. You can also follow RotoWire Soccer at RotoWire Soccer. Thanks for watching the show. Hopefully we can get some money, win some money this weekend, and then we got Champions League, and then we'll be back for Game Week 17. I don't even know if I want to look at the holiday schedule because, once Boxing Day hits and once New Year's hits, it's just games. But we'll be here. We'll be giving out bets. There'll be a way, somehow, some way, we'll be giving our bets out to the people. But Chris, thanks for joining me on this Thursday night. Good luck on your bets. We'll see everyone next week.
Thanks.